One of the questions I've got is like, and not enough people ask this question, who shouldn't use this strategy? Like, who does debt recycling not work for, or in like what circumstances?
It doesn't work for people that don't have the cash to be able to do it.
or doesn't have the PPR.
Or doesn't have the PPOR to do it. It's probably got that similar tinge to the principal and interest versus interest only, because some people will have their principal place of residence and some people won't. And some people will have cash deposits to build their portfolios, and some people want to revalue your home and extract the equity. So nothing's wrong or right there. One's got some risks, some has some benefits, but it's whichever strategy we're going to take. And it's very common for me to have property investors come to me to go, I've got my owner occupied under control here. I've got an investment property that's helping me with the cash flow. I have, say, a few $100,000 sitting in my offset account, offsetting my mortgage. What's the best play to utilize that money to buy the next property? Knowing that if you pull money out of your offset, now you're going to pay interest. So that's where we would go down the line of recycling that through the owner occupied mortgage. So it gets quite complex where we're talking about individual circumstances, and it's all about, do you have an owner occupied mortgage is where I would start when we're looking at debt recycling. Who shouldn't do it? Obviously, people that don't have an owner occupied mortgage.
I got another one here for you, Aaron. Bit of a curveball I'm thinking about as you've discussed this topic. Let's say there's an investor out there and they've got 3 investment properties, all worth $100,000. Charlie's magical world has not left yet. And they've got their PPR and they're sitting there right now and they've got how to set up their loans, for example, here. With the use of debt recycling as a strategy, is there the notion and idea that it's worth putting your investment property loans on interest only and funneling the potential positive cash flow from those properties into your PPR and essentially just paying down your PPR, and then every time you want to go again and buy another investment property, just extracting out equity from that PPR, just continually pushing down the PPR mortgage, using a mix of equity and also what you've paid down in the loan to be that next deposit? Is that a strategy potentially people are even using today? Because I can kind of see the power of that as well.
Yeah, that's like the hybrid. I'm going to go get my equity out, and like $100,000 of equity out of my principal place of residence, or I'm going to recycle my $100,000 through it. This one's like the over time debt recycling a modality, you could say, is that you set your theoretically, and there is some the test case around the difference between the interest rate on interest only and principal and interest is quite interesting right at the moment. But if you get a property investment, put it as interest only, and you are the most disciplined person in the world to go, okay, well, I'm only paying $1,000 a month on that. It's supposed to be $1,500 because of the principal. I'm going to take that $500 and I'm going to bash it off my non-deductible debt, or if you're renting your savings, but off your non-deductible debt. That's going to reduce it over time, so that when you come back to your next property, you could go, okay, I paid off this much. I can then pull that back out in the same format as if you bulk deposited it into your mortgage to then go again, and you can take that approach with the interest only. The only word of warning right now on the interest only calculations, there's last few clients that I've done numbers on about whether it's better to be interest only or principal and interest. There's maybe I've seen anywhere from $52 a month on one of my clients through to $200, $300 a month savings on it. So it is a justification around what your income is, how your business is performing, how your employment's coming, how your savings are going, and what your long-term goals are to choose that strategy one over another.
So let's just pull on that a little bit further. You're suggesting here that depending on the interest rate on the investment property, that may or may not be worth it. Because if you could end up doing a loan, which is, what's it called? It's a principal and interest loan where the interest rate difference might be 1%. And if that loan is big enough, you would be better on doing that there and utilizing the cash there than potentially a debt recycling strategy.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other downsides? Or I feel like you're pointing at me right now, Greg.
I totally am pointing. That was me. That was
a
a visual cue. Hey, Charlie.
So, hey, man, my turn. Go for
hands
it.
are just raising. All right. I got a couple. So one of the philosophies when I first started investing in property was I'm like, all right, Charlie, I'm going to get in. I'm going to buy these investment properties. They're going to increase in value. I'm going to refinance these little beasts, and I'm going to use the cash from the refinance to go and buy my own PPR, which is obviously the difference between non-tax deductible debt and tax deductible debt.
Wait, are you about to commit the cardinal sin here? Are you about to make a heap of debt that was tax deductible, non-deductible?
And that's exactly what I'm going to get Aaron to walk through, because this was a concept
So we're gonna reverse it.
because I looked at this debt recycling and I'm like, sure, you can go the other way, right? Which I think is a logical thought before you dive deeper into it. So Aaron, walk us through why it does not work the other way.
All right, before he does, I just want to conceptualize this here, right? We have a mechanism where you can literally take non-deductible debt and make it deductible. And
Yes.
I can't emphasize that enough of just how powerful that would be for many people out there right now to potentially work through. So instead of putting cash into new investment properties, paying down their mortgage, extracting it out, it's a huge win or potential win, right? In this notion of what you've just mentioned here, Grant, and we'll lay down the scenario. Let's say someone's got 5 investment properties and they're in Charlie's magical world still.
Got 20 grand of equity.
Yeah, they've got 5 investment properties that all have a little bit of equity in them right now. And you're going, do you know what? I've been a rent investor and I want to get a PPR. Can I extract all that equity through these, or utilize a debt recycling strategy from that to go the other way and buy a PPR now? Or have I just created a whole huge tax liability that I maybe don't want?
And-
So big question in that.
Exactly.
Aaron, what do you got for us?
All right, so I'm going to come back to the person's goal. So there's two ways of thinking. If the person's come to us and goes, I have no deposit and I really want to get this rent is way out of control. I just want to get this property that's going to control my costs and it's going to have my own destiny. The mechanism is that we can go to the investment portfolio and revalue things and then extract the equity out. But you have to do it in a way that is all split out and separate from the property investment debt, because otherwise your accountant's going to have a pink fit. Then that will give you the deposit that you can go and buy the next property. But in effect, what you're doing is you reversed engineered the whole debt recycling thing, where now your principal place of residence has close to, if not over 100% of borrowing on it, which is now non-deductible debt. So you really got to think about what your personal situation is there. The other way is that people are going, okay, I've got the cash deposit, I've got equity. Can't I just get the equity out of the property just because it's investor and just leave it as investor, sneak it out there so we can rebalance my cash flow? Probably not the way to go. It's more designed, that question's more designed around you actually have a need to buy a property and you need to get some equity and you need to restructure it in a way that's not going to interfere with your property investment dollars, so that you can manage what your expectation is if you really want to go down the line of 100% borrowing on your owner-occupied property. So that's how that sort of works on the owner-occupied.
Wait,
but the other way
can
to
I
think
just
about it,
make sure I understand this? So what you're suggesting for Grant is what you're going to do is you're going to go out there and then you're going to buy a shotgun and then you're going to point it at your feet and just go boom, just blow those bitches off. Because that is, in effect, what you would be doing. It's not even like shoot one foot off. It's like tripling both.
You guys make me sound so bad. I'm like, back when I didn't understand the concept of like deductible debt, non-deductible debt. Wait, I've got to defend myself here.
No, we're going to keep going
Go.
because I feel like we took Aaron out for ice cream last week. And I feel like because of that, he's being like extra nice. He's like, I don't want to say that's a shit idea, Grant, because I know you're thinking about it, but it's a shit idea.
Hold up. You guys are saying you've never heard of someone say that stuff to you?
I'm going to be real with you. I thought that I had found the holy grail in getting a ridiculous PPR was to do, in essence, what you had suggested. I'm like, this is genius. You just extract all the equity and go back the other way.
Exactly.
Like, why isn't everyone doing it? And then this whole notion of Aaron's point here of potentially having 100% borrowing on the PPR, I'm like, personally, if it was the only way I could secure my dream house and it was for a very good emotional reason, I'd do it. But strategically, from a finance decision and just how I'm looking at this here, seems like a terrible idea, hence my comment on that.
All right, fellow property investor, if you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.